And so every single day, he went from getting it once a day every, week or two, to getting it every single day over and over and over and over and over again. Like, really, really great exercise you can do. And you can do this with somebody else, do this with a partner. Have one person tell somebody, and like some of the most successful people I know, they were literally taught as though they were idiots. I remember, you see here that this kid's opera teacher told him he was crap, and he went out and changed the world. But you have to do it in the right way. You can't do it the wrong way. You look at Hitler. Hitler's art teacher told him that he was crap. But very few people at home were actually supporting him. And you see where that goes down. It's a very, very negative downward spiral, like you talked about earlier, that it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Why? It's because of the way people feel about themselves, right? And if you want to be a leader, you have to, just always, always, always constantly give out a plethora of praise and generosity and kindness to others. And it can literally change the course their life. In the early 19th century, there was a young man who aspired to be a writer, but everything seemed to be against him. And he had never been able to attend school for more than 4 years. His father had been flung in jail because he couldn't pay his debts. And this young man often knew the pains of hunger. At last, he was growing up and he got a job posting labels on bottles of blacking in a rat-infested warehouse. He slept at night in a dismal attic room with 2 other boys, gun snippers from the slums of London. They would literally clean gutters to survive. I mean, you can imagine how that room smelled. Can you imagine living in an attic with people that work in sewers all day? Like, it's just such a harsh place to be in. Such a dirty job. And I think of sort of the cotton in the ceiling, trapping in the smells, trapping in the I mean, at the time, this was a long time ago, so, 19th century, 1800s, I mean, they would literally smell like crap all day. It was, disgusting. And he had so little confidence in his ability to write that he speaked out and mailed his first manuscript. He sneaked out and he mailed his first manuscript in the dead of night so that nobody would laugh at him. And story after story was refused until finally the great day came after dozens of submissions and attempts and proposals and works of complete and total passion submitted. Finally got one accepted. He wasn't paid a penny for it, but the editor praised him, and the editor gave him recognition in the public paper. And he was so thrilled that he wandered aimlessly around the streets with tears rolling down his cheeks because for the first time in his entire adult life, somebody gave him praise, and he was overwhelmed with emotion. That's the kind of impact that just a little tiny short letter of praise can have on somebody. All the time, I send out little postcards, little notes, little letters, the people that I care about, or clients that are important, or family members, or friends. And it has such a huge impact on them because no one does that. No one gives praise like that. It changes everything. Praise, the recognition this guy received, you're getting, one story printed, changed his entire life. And if it wasn't for that one encouragement, he might have spent his entire life working in rat-infested factories. For example about this concept, so I sent a bunch of letters to some really close friends, but friends that you wouldn't really expect to send mail to. They called me, and 2 of them were just exploding with emotion. Why? Because people want to be praised. They want to feel significant. They want a feeling of importance. This writer, his entire life just shifted when one person praised him in a couple of sentences. You might have heard of him. His name was Charles Dickens. Why? Because somebody had it in their heart to share praise with him, and that praise went and it fundamentally shifted his entire life. So next time you see someone in the jobs, or next time you see someone really struggling or really trying, just imagine how a teeny bit of praise from somebody that they might not even know, this guy probably didn't know the editor, could actually have a massive change on someone else's life. And it literally takes 20 seconds. It probably took this editor maybe a minute to write a letter and send it off to this kid. And it changed his whole life. And I think that you can change someone's whole life in a minute. How powerful is that? How massive is that? Another boy in London made his living as a clerk in a dry goods store, and he was used to getting up at 5 o'clock, he would sweep the store and slave 14 hours a day. And it was sheer drudgery that he despised. And after 2 years, he could stand it no longer. So he got up one morning without waiting for breakfast, and he tramped 15 miles to talk to his mother, who was working as a housekeeper. And he was frantic, and he pleaded with her, and he wept, and he swore he would kill himself if he had to remain in the shop any longer. Then he went on a long, pathetic letter. He wrote this huge letter to his schoolmaster, his old schoolmaster, declaring that he was heartbroken, and that he no longer wanted to live. And his old schoolmaster did something so phenomenally powerful. He gave him a little praise and assured him that he really was very intelligent and fitted for finer things. And the school teacher offered him a job as a teacher. And that praise and that new opportunity changed the future for this boy and allowed him, rather than killing himself, to make a lasting impression on the history of English literature. And he went on to write an innumerable amount of best-selling books that made millions of dollars, which is about tens of millions of dollars today, with his freaking pen. His name was H.G. Wells. He made the book that turned into The Time Machine, which was like that really old movie. It was kind of like super cool. H.G. Wells. Why did his whole career and his whole life change? It's because of a little bit of praise and then just a little bit of a push over the edge. Actually, now that I think about it, this story translates really, really well. In The Time Machine, it's this old movie, old book that H.G. Wells wrote. And in the movie, there's this mad scientist guy. He's like building a time machine. He's a super smart physicist, coolest guy ever. And he's been working on this time machine for a decade. And he's got this big workshop. And all over the workshop, there's like 10-foot high whiteboards or chalkboards. And he's just writing like all these equations all over the place. And they're like all these like old clock timepieces everywhere. And it's just this like huge like scientific laboratory. It's crazy setup. And he's got like his little assistant guy, and he doesn't really pay attention too much to him. And he just lives in this one room. And then one day he goes to the park and he goes ice skating with his with this lady that he's dating, and this girl he's dating, and he proposes to her, and they walk out, and he says, you know, hey, look, I'm really excited to be ice skating with you, but I want to go take a walk. So they take a walk. They go to the middle of the park. He gets down on one knee. There's like snow everywhere. There's like green bushes everywhere. And this like big like motor cart passes him, and it breaks down. And so he real quick he helps this guy with his motor cart, and he comes and he jams. And it's like before there was a car. It's like a four-wheeler. It was really crazy. Then he lets him, sends him off, goes away. Then he gets down on one knee, and he looks right at this woman's eyes, and he says, will you marry me? And she like cries and says yes, and it's like the nicest moment ever. And then from behind this water fountain that was near them, and it was like this turn-off water fountain because it was winter, and it was a barren, cold day. Everyone had scars on it. It was like suits. Everyone was wearing suits because it was freezing. This lady had like really long sleeves. Everyone was so scared. And this guy comes out with a little pistol, and he says, wow, you know, that was really nice. And then basically he mugs him, he robs him, he says, give me, you know, your watch, give me your wallet. And then, you know, this guy, he's so scared, so frightened, and he's like huddling his wife, he has no clue what to do. So he hands over his wallet, and he hands over his watch, and he's like holding this lady, trying to have his whole life saved right in front of him. And then this guy, this mugger, says, give me the ring that he just put on his wife's finger. And she is so distraught, so terrified, so upset. And this guy, with the gun, is like, give me the ring, give me the ring, give me the ring. And they're like, we don't want to give you the ring, we're so sorry. And they're so emotionally charged. And as they're struggling with one another, he pulls the trigger, piston, like you can see it, go down on the gun, hit the gunpowder, and shoot right into this lady's chest. And it kills this scientist guy's future wife. The guy runs away. He says, you should have freaking just handed it over, man. And she dies over a ring. So he goes home that night, totally destroyed, ready to push himself over the edge. He is so upset, so sad. It was the love of his life. And he just flew away from him and passed through his arms to nowhere. And then what happens next is insane. So phenomenal. He uses this as inspiration to finish his time machine. And as he finishes the time machine, he goes back in time, he goes the day before. He's trying to save his wife, and they go on this new date. They go to this new place, and they change sort of everything they have. And he has this hope, he has this, he gives so much praise to his wife. He says, oh, you're amazing, you're the best ever, come stay here, we'll live, it'll be the best time ever. And she gets run over by a freaking car in the middle of town, again, and again, and again. He keeps going back in time, she keeps dying, she keeps dying, she keeps dying. And he realizes that he's gotta go further into the future. He goes further in the future. And I don't wanna go over the whole plot of the movie, but the point here is that he gets to this point in like, you know, 2,000 years in the future, and basically like people like exploded part of the moon, and then the moon crashed into the earth, and the whole world like exploded and started over. And he's in this new future civilization. He meets like these like Indian people that are like living in wooden shacks. And what happens is so berserk, because at nighttime these people go and they hide away in their homes, and they sort of secure themselves, and he doesn't understand why they have so much security until the next day they go out sort of to go, you know, hunting or find food and gather things. And they're on this beach, and these little like troll people like jump out of the sand and basically like just snag like 6 people and like blow with blow darts. Like they nail them down, they gun them down, and they grab their bodies and bring them back under the sand and steal them away from her, from everybody. You know, it's like this whole group of people, this whole new society of people, new people. And this guy's like, holy crap, what just happened? And she says, these are, you know, the evil people. And she says like when the earth came to a close, some people went underground to survive and others stayed above ground. And the people that went underground sort of, gradually developed into these monsters that feed on humans, and they just are carnivores or cannibals. And every single year for the past couple of decades and centuries, they've just constantly been eating people, and they just live with it, and they just have to go about their day understanding that they are going to literally be killed very, very slowly by this group of hunters. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, this goes on and on and on, and he has no clue what to do. And then this guy, who's the main actor, like the main scientist, he stands up in front of every person in the town and he says, I believe in you. I have seen how powerful your civilization is. I've seen how insanely great that you are and how much you all deserve to live in safety, tranquility, and peace.